Rejoicify, Ozians, Wicked for Good is finally out. The second half of the beloved 2024 film is here. The story is complete. So, is it everything we could have ever asked for? No, not really. You see, this movie was already starting with an uphill battle. Famously, most people do not enjoy Act 2 of the stage show, citing that it is rushed and includes unnecessary tie-ins to The Wizard of Oz. I personally agree that Act 2 is super rushed, coming in at only 45 to 50 minutes. So, you would think that the movie adapting Act 2 that is almost double that runtime at 2 hours would be able to solve that. Unfortunately, it does not. Instead, we get a mixed bag of an adaptation. There are things I like, but there's almost no new elements added to the movie, and the more extreme aspects of the stage show are censored due to the PG rating. So, without further ado, let's get into why I feel Wicked for Good is too scared to stray from the musical. Full spoilers for both movies and the stage show from here on out. Additionally, the movie just came out and Universal loves to copyright claim everything. I'm going to try my best to use trailer footage, stills, and slime tutorial footage to give visual reference for what I'm talking about. So please excuse this video if by the time you see it, there's nothing but still images with my voiceover. First things first, the new songs introduced in the movie don't matter. Yes, Cynthia and Ariana are vocally amazing as always, but the songs don't add anything new. Personally, I feel this is because they wanted the movie to be eligible for an original song Oscar, but didn't want to change or stray too far from the original narrative. The first new song is No Place Like Home, sung by Elphaba. In this sequence, Elphaba is trying to rally the talking animals and convince them to stand up to the wizard instead of fleeing Oz. I actually do like this song and thought it was going to add something new to the story. I thought this was leading to an animal revolution storyline, something not really seen in the stage show and only mentioned in passing by select characters. While Elphaba is singing, the animals begin to rally around her and look like they're going to join the narrative. However, the song is interrupted by the Cowardly Lion, who blames Elphaba for making him cowardly and convinces all the animals to continue fleeing Oz. This interruption feels like a big reset button as it immediately reverts the narrative back to the status quo and ultimately makes the song feel like a waste of time. Speaking of a waste of time, the second new song is The Girl in the Bubble.
Who's that wonderful girl? Could she be any cuter?
I absolutely hate this song. This song takes place near the end of the movie and serves as Glinda's revelation that she's part of the problem with Oz. While it is not the most offensive song, it doesn't provide anything new. Seeing as film is a visual medium, you can infer how Glinda is feeling from the look on her face and her body language. I could actually see where you would need to include a song like this in the stage show because you can't guarantee body language and facial expressions based on sight lines in a theater. But again, here in a movie, we can literally see her face. So it ultimately makes this song feel like the movie is saying, the audience is too stupid to figure out what Glinda is thinking at this moment. So we should have her sing a song about her feelings. It also strangely interrupts March of the Witch Hunters and just really slows down the pacing for that sequence. So in summary, while these songs are not offensive additions, they ultimately add nothing to the story. Maybe I expected too much of this movie, but I also feel it was odd that there were no new story elements added. As I said, many people feel that Act 2 is rushed and bare bones, so I thought they would use the movie's extended runtime to flesh out and better connect the story to Act 1, which they didn't do at all. I was incredibly surprised because they showed so much footage in the trailers, and I was like, okay, they're showing all this, and think of the hours that they're not showing us, and ultimately, yeah, they didn't show it to us because there was nothing there. For example, something they added to the first film was the prophecy during One Short Day. To make a long story short, the prophecy says that someday someone will come along who can read the Grimoire and free Oz from the dread and despair it currently finds itself in. While it was a very quick verse in the song, I thought this would be touched upon at least once in the movie. Unfortunately, the prophecy is not even mentioned once. That being said, it does come back a little later in the movie in an inferred way that I'll talk about later. Dorothy and her friends' inclusion in Wicked has always been awkward, and I don't think the movie does anything here to justify it. I understand that this is ultimately a Wizard of Oz spinoff, but it doesn't really make sense. You see, this is more of an alternate take, alternate universe, not a direct spinoff from the Wizard of Oz. Things don't line up perfectly. My main reasoning for this is that while you could make an argument for Bach as the Tin Man, it makes no sense for Fiyero, as the Scarecrow, to join Dorothy on her journey to kill Elphaba. Now, I'm not saying we should recreate the Wizard of Oz in this movie, but I did think we would get a little more of Fiyero's perspective on that whole situation. Like, what would have possibly made him join Dorothy? When did he even encounter her? Unfortunately, the movie wants to preserve the surprise from the musical that Fiyero is the Scarecrow, and therefore chooses to leave the Oz Squad's relationships and adventures as vague as ever. Speaking of relationships, I thought some of the more last-minute relationships from the stage show would be fleshed out. For example, in the stage show, it's revealed that the wizard is Elphaba's father. This is revealed in the final moments of the show. Here, I thought, again, we could take some more time and explore what that really means. But it's ultimately, again, just here as a motivation to quickly dismantle the wizard's empire. I also thought we would see more of Fiyero and Elphaba's plans to escape Oz. Again, it's not necessary information, but it could have been cool and expansive to see how this plan came to be. And I'm not saying you would have to ruin the surprise at the end. They could have simply put a little flashback to the planning or the note that Fiyero leaves her at the end after the reveal. While none of these are necessary story additions, it would have definitely expanded the story and given it more support in the areas that are lacking. I might sound crazy when I say this, but I think this movie is extremely held back by trying to maintain the PG rating of the first film. While the first film was rated PG, I think this one needed to be at least PG-13 to capture the steamier and scarier moments of the show. For example, As Long As You're Mine, the song that is literally about Elphaba and Fiyero, consummating their relationship, so to speak, isn't sexy at all in this version. In the stage show, they're kissing, rolling around, feeling each other up. While here in the movie, because we have to keep that PG rating and sex doesn't exist in PG, here the blocking is terrible, and they spend half the song not even near one another. And I know everybody talks about how bad the cinematography and color grading are in these movies, but I found this scene incredibly offensive. You see, as a director, it's John M. Chu's job to make sure that these scenes are blocked correctly. If you're not familiar with that term, blocking means how the characters and the environment are placed in the shot so that it actually, looks good. And the blocking in this scene is terrible. Literally during the lyrics, "Kiss me too fiercely, hold me too tight," Fiyero and Elphaba are nowhere near each other. They spend half this song practically avoiding each other. And I think it's crazy because Elphaba is wearing this, and you do nothing with that? Are you kidding me? On top of that, the transformations of both the Scarecrow and the Tin Man happen off screen. And again, I'm not saying you have to go full horror movie and go Cronenberg or John Carpenter's The Thing. But I am saying that they could have really leaned into the 90s PG-13 body horror of these transformations. But again, they both happen off screen. So while they are impressive makeup effects, I would have loved to see the transformation process and the real horror of that. Because really, by the end of the movie when we meet Fiyero, he doesn't seem that bothered by the fact that he's made of straw now. And I think we could have touched on that with a more mature rating of PG-13. So while I've been pretty negative this whole video, I do have to say there were some changes near the end of the movie that I actually really like. These are some big changes, and I do enjoy them, though they come a little too late. The movie is almost over. So in the finale, we see Elphaba and Glinda say their essentially goodbyes in the song For Good, before Elphaba does her melting and Glinda goes off to be Glinda the Good Witch. And ultimately, these last 15 to 20 minutes of the movie were maybe my favorite part, because of course the girls sing For Good as beautifully as ever, and there's an additional sequence when Elphaba hides Glinda from the witch hunters, because she can't be seen consorting with the Wicked Witch. In the movie, Elphaba essentially locks Glinda in a closet, but before doing so, both girls said I love you to each other, and then have a just quiet moment to cry about never seeing one another again. And I think this is the heart of the movie. This is the message of both movies, actually. The entire thing is how they've changed each other and how much they mean to one another. And then we've learned since the movie coming out that it turns out this scene was improvised by Cynthia and Ariana, which truly just shows how much they understand these characters. I really liked it. I liked having this quiet moment to just acknowledge how much they mean to one another, and it was of course just a simple quick moment that left the entire theater in tears. And then we get into the real big change. This is literally one of the final shots of the movie, in that after Elphaba has supposedly quote-unquote died, even though we know she faked it, Elphaba has left the Grimmery with Glinda, even though Glinda remarks that she can't read it, to which Elphaba says that she'll have to learn, because she has to be the one to bring goodness back to Oz, which is of course what Glinda has always wanted to do, but she's always done it in the wrong way. So in the film's final moments, when Glinda seems to be at her lowest, the Grimmery opens for her. I thought this was fascinating because this does not happen in the stage show. Glinda is simply holding the Grimmery while singing the finale song. So I thought it was really cool that the Grimmery opened for her, and I feel like this almost ties back to the prophecy that I mentioned from part 1. You see, we all thought it was about Elphaba, but it's actually about both of them. Elphaba can read the Grimmery, and she did the Defying Gravity cry, but alone she couldn't restore Oz. Instead, Elphaba had to act as a martyr, while Glinda can actually do good with the Grimmery, which she couldn't read or access until she was actually working with pure good intentions. So ultimately, I felt like this ending was a little bit more of a cheerful/hopeful version of the musical's ending. Because, again, the musical ends with maybe someday Glinda will be able to read the Grimmery, and Elphaba has faked her death and gone off with Fiero. Versus here we see that Glinda has actually earned the ability of the Grimmery, now working with good intentions. And it leaves hope for the audience that Glinda will be able to restore Oz to its former glory. Additionally, something I've learned really cool from users on Twitter is that the Grimmery actually can be translated. There's a codex on the Wicked website. And from that, we can see that the spell that the Grimmery opens to for Glinda is a healing spell, which many have pointed out she's going to have to use to both heal the land of Oz, but also heal her broken heart over losing Elfie. So like I said, this literal almost final shot of the movie is probably my favorite part of the entire thing, because it's the biggest change that they've made. And I see so much fan fiction coming from this. For many people, this is their first time experiencing the story of Wicked. So of course, we are going to see fan fiction of Elfie's return to Oz, or Glinda fully embracing her Good Witch, which now people will have new materials because now she can access the Grimmery. On top of that, Stephen Schwartz has announced that he is working on a spin-off. He has said it will not follow Elfie or Glinda and will instead expand the world of Oz in a new direction. That being said, I have to believe that they will at least mention Glinda if it's set after For Good, seeing as she appears to be the now current ruler of Oz and is looking to change things. So as you can see, this one small change to the ending has ultimately got my brain going in all different directions, and is once again my favorite part of the movie. So ultimately, I probably sound like I hate the movie, But I really didn't. I think the movie is fine. I think I just wanted more from it. That first movie took every chance and opportunity it could to expand Act 1, and I just wanted that treatment for Act 2. But instead of making big changes, they ultimately just told Act 2 again, but with 5 to 10 more minutes of dialogue between songs. Of course, we know from John M. Chu as well as the trailers and behind the scenes featurettes that there's so much that has been cut from this movie, so who knows? Maybe that version of Wicked for Good that I want to see is out there somewhere, and maybe we will someday. That being said, this is the movie we have, and while I didn't love it, the ending was very promising and what I wanted from the entire film. I'm very excited to see where the world of Wicked goes next, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it in the comments down below. If you liked what you saw here, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you know when that next one's coming. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.